going on, everyone? I hope you're having a great day today. Today's video is going to be a story time from when I moved across the country at 20 years old, and I thought I would share my experience. I'm just driving. This is just a story time. I'm not actually like going there. This already happened. So let's get started with the story. It's a beautiful day. Why are we stopping? We literally have the right of way. Go. What the f are you doing, you crackhead? Alright, so in March or April of 2020, I was planning on moving to Arizona, but I didn't tell anybody, and I didn't have the money to, so it was just a thought and a dream. And I've been looking at apartments for like that whole year. And in October of 2020, I started packing up my stuff because I was like, alright, I'm gonna do this. At the age of 20, I'm gonna move across the country, literally, from the east side of Pennsylvania all the way to Arizona. Some people say they're moving across the country and they go from like Texas to Arizona. Like, that is not across the country. I don't usually like telling people things that I'm doing until I do it, especially because half the things that I want to do with my life people wouldn't believe. Like, yeah, okay. And most of the time when I say I'm gonna do something, I do it. But at the age of 20, telling people that I was gonna move across the country, like, I already knew everybody was gonna be like, yeah, okay. So I didn't bother telling anybody until a couple weeks before I went. So eventually I told my dad that I was gonna move to Arizona, and he was okay with it. My sister didn't believe me. I bought a first-class plane ticket. I treated myself, and I paid to have my Jeep shipped out there a couple days before I left, and it was like $1,200. So I quit my job, and at the age of 20, I moved across the country. I had all my stuff packed up, but I didn't have a moving truck take any of it. I just put what I could fit in my Jeep, some of it, and that's what I was living off of. And I didn't have an apartment at the time, or really a place to stay. All I had was a hotel for a week. That was it. A hotel for a week, it was $700 about. I cannot afford $700 a week in a hotel. Like, I would have run out of money so quick. So I was so desperate to find an apartment. I'm calling all these places. I tried to get an apartment before I moved out there. I would call them, email them multiple times, like months before I started packing up my stuff. And nobody was answering my emails or phone calls. Like, I don't think they were taking me seriously when I said I was a 20-year-old moving across the country on my own. So I literally, with nowhere to stay besides the hotel, I flew across the country. I moved there. And then, of course, when I call one of the apartments, now they decide to answer the phone. Like, my area code is still Pennsylvania. Like, now all of a sudden you want to answer the phone? Or else I would have been more smart about it and gotten an apartment before. But nobody decides to answer their emails or phone calls. So I moved out there with nowhere to stay but a hotel. So I get there, I Uber to my hotel, and I have to walk everywhere because I'm not old enough to rent a vehicle, and I wasn't going to anyway because my Jeep was going to be coming in a couple days. I walked like a mile just to get groceries. I mean, I was right next to a grocery store, but I kind of wanted to explore a little bit and walk because it was beautiful, because Arizona is just mwah. So, and I only had like what I could carry with my hand. So I only got like a 6-pack of water and a couple of snacks and some food. I ate out most of the time because my hotel room only had a microwave, so that wasn't very helpful. But I was trying to find a place to live, and I couldn't find one. So long story short, it only lasted a week. I didn't stay out there long, but it was so much fun. The feeling of freedom, I mean, I shouldn't say it like that. I was free before I went. The feeling of like being on my own and in such a beautiful state, like, I have never been so happy in my life when I was there. It was the happiest I've ever been. I don't regret anything. I tried to be smart about it and get an apartment before, but I just couldn't get one. Going back to the apartment thing. So usually when you get an apartment, you have to pay the first and last month up front, but I needed a guarantor and I couldn't get one. So I was like, I will pay for the first 6 months, and they still, like, every apartment declined me. I couldn't find a place to stay no matter how much I tried, and I couldn't afford to keep living out of a hotel, and I'm not living out of a motel. So I did move back home. I went back to Pennsylvania. I drove back. I did some exploring while I was there, but most of the time I was just looking for work and trying to find a place to live. but I couldn't, so I started driving back home. A week later, I had to drive through New Mexico, and I got lost in New Mexico. And when you're driving on the highway or turnpike, whatever it was, I think it was the highway, there will usually be a sign that says no gas station or rest stop for the next so many miles. And so, like, obviously when I saw a sign like that, I would get off at the next exit to get gas. But I haven't seen one of those signs in a while. And I had, my gas indicator was on, and I was like, I need to get gas, and there is like no exit anywhere on this highway. I have been driving for miles and miles, and there was no exit. I finally found an exit. Ooh, gas is $3.99? That's the cheapest it's been in a while. Anyway, so my GPS was not cooperating with me when I'm trying to type in like gas station near me. So I just got off at the closest exit, the next exit, and there was no gas station. It was so sketchy, I don't even know how to explain it. I just wanted to get out of there so bad, but I really needed gas. I honestly thought I was gonna die. Like, I thought I was gonna get stranded on the side of the road and then somebody was gonna kidnap me or something. I don't know what was gonna happen. I always think the worst, but I was so scared. It was so sketchy. I didn't know New Mexico had like the second highest crime rate in the country. If I would have known that before I got lost, I would have been even more scared. But I didn't know that at the time. I just already knew New Mexico was like not really that great. But eventually I found a gas station, and moral of that story, don't ever let your gas tank get that low. Fill up. So for me, once I reached half a tank of gas, I filled up. I wasn't taking any more chances like that. And also, on my way back home, I didn't even check the weather for like any of the states that I was driving through. I just drove across the country back home. I didn't even pay attention if there was like tornadoes. People in Illinois, y'all do not know how to drive, okay? Maybe it was a Sunday and the Sunday drivers were out, but still, you guys do not know how to drive. Oh my God. I thought people couldn't drive in Pennsylvania. Whole nother level in Illinois. Also, keep in mind, I was 20 years old at the time, and I get to Ohio, and it's like 8, 9 o'clock at night. I'm still 8 hours away from home, and I was gonna stay in a hotel because I've already been driving for like 10 hours that day. And come to find out, you have to be 21 or older to stay in a hotel on your own in Ohio. I didn't know that. I did absolutely no research about any of the states that I drove through, and I had no problem staying in a hotel in any other state. I called my dad and I was like, well, I can't stay in a hotel here. So he called the hotel and booked it for me, because the lady at the desk didn't make it clear that the person had to be with me. So I went back in to go into the room. She was like, well, he has to be here. I'm like, so then I called my dad again. I'm just gonna drive straight through and go home, because it was below freezing, in the teens, and snowy and icy. It was freezing. So I was pretty much homeless for the night. So I'm like, if I park in a parking lot and turn my Jeep off, I'm gonna freeze, or I'll get kidnapped. And I was also thinking about like pulling off to the side of the road, but I didn't want to like get hit by a drunk driver or a big truck at like 2 in the morning. So I drove right through the night. I didn't get home until like 4 o'clock in the morning. I was so tired. I was like sitting forward. I was talking to myself to keep myself awake, because the second I sat back in my seat, I started falling asleep. So that was a nightmare. Do not drive while you're tired. It's very dangerous. Don't recommend it. So I drove across the country in 3 days, because it would have been 4, but since I had nowhere to stay at when I was in Ohio, I drove for 16 hours straight. So I drove across the country in 3 days, and I was tired as shit. It didn't last long. It only lasted a week, so I didn't technically move there, but it was such a great experience. I don't regret it. I tried to be smart in certain ways, but I could only do so much on my end for certain parts. I learned a lot of lessons. It was a fail, I'm not gonna lie. Not everything goes successfully in my life, but I tried. I definitely want to go back, but right now the market is ridiculous. But I want to go back for now, within the next couple of months, just for a road trip, because I think a road trip vlog would be so much fun. So that's my story of moving across the country at the age of 20. I was not scared at all, honestly. I was really happy and excited. The feeling of like being on your own is just such a great feeling. Like, I don't have to worry about being quiet when I go to get a midnight snack so I don't wake up my parents, or wondering if I can eat in my room. Like, just being able to do whatever I want whenever I want is just such a great feeling. And most people don't even leave their hometown or the area that they're from. Living in Pennsylvania my whole life? Absolutely not. I mean, don't get me wrong, Pennsylvania was okay. There was no, like, I didn't really have to worry about tornadoes or hurricanes. That was very rare to have warnings for them and stuff. But the weather was absolutely, I hate being cold, I hate the snow, and the weather is just so bipolar there. Like, it'll be snowing one day and then 75 degrees the next day. Like, get yourself together. Arizona, I would totally trade in my winter in Pennsylvania for another spring/summer, you know? Hell yeah, that's my kind of weather out there. And there's so much to do with outdoors and hiking and everything. I have nothing but good things to say about Arizona. Such nice people there that I've met. If I could have gotten an apartment, I would have, obviously, but I don't make those stupid apartment rules. If I could have, you need 3 times the rent. If I had 3 times the rent, I'm buying, not renting. Come on now. I just thought I would share my experience of moving across the country. Maybe it will inspire some people. So it was turned into more of like a mini vacation learning experience. I didn't really move there because it was only for a week, but that was my intention. I was not planning on coming back. Maybe that'll give you some inspiration to travel or move. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone, because there is a whole other world out there to explore, and it is awesome. That's gonna do it for this video. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.